There were more than half a dozen of SUVs and a dozen of cars, which all accommodated in the large drive-through area of the bungalow. Madhu saw Bree in the garden from her car. Soon after getting down from the car, she ran to her. Bree saw her running towards her in that pink lehenga, and her heart melted. "I'm sorry," Madhu apologized to her for making her wait. "For what?" Bree asked, holding her hand. Madhu caressed her hand. "You know, for leaving you alone in the home and going away like that without even telling you." Madhu made sad face. Bree didn't complain. Instead, she smiled and felt to enjoy some sweet romance with her sexy wife in her favorite Indian dress. But the house was filled with so many people, she wasn't getting time for that. "How did you know that I would need breakfast by 8?" she asked, smiling at her. "He got you breakfast on time?" Madhu smiled. "Of course, and I was damn hungry by that time." Bree smiled. Madhu felt guilty hearing that. "Oh, I'm so sorry, Munchkin. I hated to leave you like that. Even I didn't know about this puja yesterday. Now on, I am with you, always," she said, holding her hand. "Really?" Asking mischievously, Bree pulled her close and pinched her waist. Madhu blushed, widening her eyes, staring at Bree. The garden was, however, free from crowd, but anybody could see them from inside the house. She pushed herself away, looking down, blushing on her naughty act. "You are killing me with your dresses and blush, honey," Bree sighed. Madhu blushed in answer. "You had your breakfast?" Bree asked her. "No, we were all fasting since morning. We'll have lunch later," Madhu said. "Oh," Bree pouted, thinking of something. "Why?" Madhu asked. "I was planning something else," Bree said, winking. "What?" Madhu smiled. "I want to take you into the room and..." Bree winked again. Madhu blushed hearing that and whispered, "You have to wait." Bree sighed hearing that. By that time, her aunt called them both inside the house, waving hand, from the large wall-to-wall window of living room. Her sisters-in-law Vanilla and Radhika were carrying puja items to their room, and they both saw them talking playfully from balcony. Madhu's family was a goldsmith family. All they see in a person first is jewelry they wear. They both too had noticed the ring in the hand of Bree in the previous day. They knew that Western people wear ring in the left-hand ring finger after marriage. They thought of asking Bree whether she was married. The wedding of Chetan was in the very next morning. Everyone was very busy in the home. Madhu and Bree sat with all the ladies, helping them with some or the other work. In the middle of the group, Bree pinched Madhu's waist, caressed her hand, and bare back as her blouse was deep neck. She made gestures with eyes to Madhu, asking her to go to her room. But Madhu was not left alone by anyone in the family. She made faces to excuses Bree, requesting her to stop her mischief, but Bree didn't listen. In the meanwhile, Vanilla asked Bree about her marriage with topic of her ring. Bree ignored her question of marriage by talking something else. Vanilla had seen M letter in her ring. Vanilla also saw B in Madhu's ring when she came from America, but she didn't ask her about that. Madhu jumped in the middle to answer that and said, "Bree wears ring with letter M because M stands for Massachusetts, the state of the USA where they live." Hearing that, Bree's eyes got wide open with a smirk. Her elder aunt Lakshmi amazed, saying, "Strange, you USA people wear rings with city and state names letters. We wear rings with the names of our loved ones." Turning at Madhu, "Madhu, you have also joined their club by wearing a ring with the letter of city name." Everyone laughed hearing that. Madhu took a breath of relief and joined her hand to Bree, whispering, "Sorry." Bree smiled. But Vanilla noticed all that and thought it was all odd and they are hiding something. "Amma, coincidentally Madhu and Brianna's names also have the same initials," she said to her mother-in-law. Hearing that, her aunt and everyone around gave a thought about it. Madhu's heartbeats increased in fear after hearing that. But Madhu's second aunt Sushila, who was quiet all the time, said, "You both are so close friends. Keep the rings thinking them as your names, not city and state." Madhu and Bree looked at each other after hearing that. Rest of the people started making fun of saying what their rings stand if they wear state and city names. Bree was not stopping her mischief with Madhu. She excused everyone and went upstairs to Madhu's room and called her, gesturing from top. Madhu blushed, ignoring her call. Bree squeezed her eyes and signaled her to come upstairs. Benella noticed that and she told Madhu, "She is calling you from a long time. Go and ask her what she wants. She must be shy to talk in front of us." Madhu noticed the fishy tone of her sister-in-law. She realized Benella is doubting on them. In the meantime, Charan came home. He saw Bree in the lobby of upstairs, smiling at her. Madhu saw Charan and thought, "One more tension. God, why all these people are behind my happiness?" She ran upstairs before he goes there to Bree. Bree didn't see Charan as her eyes were all on Madhu. She got happy seeing Madhu coming up. She went inside her room and pulled Madhu inside when she came close to the door. "What are you doing?" Madhu amazed. "Romancing my wife," Bree said, pulling her close by holding her waist. "No, all are keeping eyes on us. Didn't you see how my aunts and sisters-in-law were interrogating us?" she said, taking off Bree's hands from her waist. Bree smiled. "Yeah, we are not married. We are friends for them. And we aren't wearing wedding rings, but wearing city and state name rings. Blah, 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 blah," she said, mocking. "Baby, please understand. My family is very orthodox," Madhu pleaded, holding her hand. "Yeah, I know. I don't care about that. And I don't want to talk about that either. I just want to spend some quality time with you," Bree sighed. "Yeah, by doing all that down there? You know my sister-in-law saw us when you were calling me up?" Madhu said, thinking about her family in worried tone. Bree left her and walked away from her towards the wall. Madhu noticed. She got upset. She ran to her and hugged her from back and said, "Sorry, I'm actually upset since morning. First for keeping you waiting, then my family questions. And on top of that, I'm angry on that idiot Charan. Due to all this anxiety, I'm not giving you time. You came all the way for me and I'm not spending time with you." "Angry on Charan? Why?" Bree asked, turning around, because she knew the bond between this brother and sister. "You heard only that?" Madhu asked, looking at her. "Yeah, I know about the rest of the things you mentioned, but annoyance on Charan is new for me." "Yeah, he likes you," she said with a pout. "What?" Hearing that, Bree uttered. After a pause, she started laughing. Madhu got annoyed on her laugh. "I am worried here and you are laughing," she uttered. "What should I do?" Bree said, laughing by sitting on the bed. Madhu got angry. She stood tying her hand, knotting her eyebrows before her. "So you are angry because your brother started liking me?" Bree said after stopping her laugh. Madhu didn't answer her. "You are jealous," Bree said, pulling her close by holding her waist. Madhu looked other side in angry face. "I am not jealous. I'm just annoyed. Why that idiot likes all that I love," she said. "Because you two think alike," Bree said, caressing her waist. Madhu looked at her. She placed her hands on Bree's collar and scrolled her hands up and surrounded them around her neck. Their eyes met. Madhu whispered, "You are mine." "Yes, ma'am," saying Bree kissed her. Instantly there was a knock on the door. Both Madhu and Bree got annoyed by that. But there was a servant on the door and he said they were called for lunch. At the time of lunch, Bree kept on teasing Madhu. But Madhu avoided her all the time in the fear of her family, where everyone's eyes were like CCTV on them. By the end of the day, Bree started feeling Madhu's behavior strange as she was avoiding her all the time. She got annoyed. Charan was around Bree all the time with one or the other reason. Bree planned something. Next morning was the wedding morning. Bree asked Charan to go out with her. Charan agreed instantly and they walked out of the home, which Madhu observed and ran till the door and saw Charan and Bree going out of the gate on his bullet. Everyone in the home asked, where did Charan and Bree go? Madhu had no answer for that. She kept silent on that question and helped the ladies in the kitchen with some or the other things, in thoughts of Bree and Charan. Some of the old ladies made fun of the chemistry of Bree and Charan. They also imagined and narrated what would happen if they get married. Madhu was grinding her teeth, cursing all of them for their useless comments. It wasn't any trust issue with Madhu. She had full faith in Bree and also in her brother. She also knew that Bree went along with Charan just to irritate and punish her for avoiding her love since morning. But Madhu was also helpless. She couldn't handle the doubting stares and taunts of her sister-in-law whenever Bree came close to her. Vanilla was very much aware of LGBT from her kitty parties. She had told her about some real-life stories from her group. So she didn't wish to give any hints about her and Bree's love to Vanilla, as she wasn't ready to come out. Bree and Charan did shopping for her. Charan selected some rich lehenga dresses for Bree, but she wasn't comfortable wearing and handling those heavy dresses after trying them. She thought how her delicate wife Madhu is handling those heavy dresses. Rejecting those lehengas, she purchased some grand ladies' kurta and dhoti-style pant dresses. Charan was paying for her shopping, but Bree insisted that she doesn't like to burden anybody. Charan didn't wish to hurt her values. Perhaps he insisted he will not pay if she goes on a treat with him. She smiled and agreed. After the shopping, he took her on a ride to some popular places in the city and showed her the nightlife of Hyderabad. While going for eating, Bree insisted she will eat street food as she always wanted to taste them by watching TV shows of India. But Charan said it might not suit her stomach and he didn't want her to get sick by eating them all. So he insisted on going to Starbucks. Bree thought all the family members of Madhu are equally caring like Madhu. She agreed with no option left. By that time, Madhu got impatient. She called Bree, but she had already kept her phone in a silent mode. She called Charan and he answered in a few rings. "Where are you guys?" Madhu asked in an angry tone. Charan looked at Bree and smiled, hearing his sister's nagging tone. He went aside and answered, "We are in the city. I'm enjoying the date with your friend. I will call you later. Bye." Mocking, he disconnected the call. Bree understood that it must be Madhu on the call from another side. She checked her phone when Charan was talking to Madhu. She saw 3 missed calls from Madhu and a couple of texts asking her whereabouts. She was still upset on Madhu for avoiding her love in the whole day. She thought she would tease her more without replying to her. Madhu was annoyed on both Bree and Charan. She muttered, "Undo neeku chepta. Wait, I'll teach you a lesson." She went to her uncle Vallabh, Charan's father, and reminded him about meeting the wedding planner, which was the duty of Charan. Instantly, he called Charan and asked him to finish the meeting with wedding planner. It was 8. Charan had planned to take a small tour of the city with Bree. He was enjoying coffee and snacks with her. After the call from his father, he got disappointed, and with no option left, they both left from there having the snacks and coffee. Bree asked Charan whether they planned any special party before the wedding, like a bachelor party. Charan said alcohol is not allowed in his home, but 10 days ago, hiding from the elders, Charan and Chetan had a bachelor party along with a few close friends. Bree laughed, hearing their party stories on the way back home. Charan was well aware that in Western countries it was normal to drink for both males and females, so he asked her about her drinking routine. Bree had revealed to him that she was an alcohol addict a few months ago, but now she drinks once in a while only. Charan offered her, after the wedding of Chetan, he will give her a booze party once before she leaves, if she is comfortable drinking with him. Smiling, Bree agreed on that. It was almost 9:30 in the night when Bree and Charan came with shopping bags. Madhu ran to them and asked, "So you guys went shopping without me?" "Well, you were busy, so I took your friend for her shopping." Charan mocked, smiling at Bree. He dropped her on the door and went out of the house, recalling the work his father told him. Madhu noticed that Bree was still upset with her, so she didn't answer her. Smiling, she took her bags and asked, "Can I see what all you bought?" Bree handed all her bags to Madhu. Madhu felt sad on her behavior. Let's go to the room and see them. Madhu smiled, staring at her, holding bags in her hand. It's all right. You can see them later. You carry on with your relatives, Bree said sarcastically, looking the other side. Madhu stared at her, squeezing her eyes on her sarcasm. The wedding was in the next morning. Everyone was tired due to the entire day's hustle-bustle. So all the family members had food early at 8 and vacated the living room. Only Madhu was waiting there for her love. Many of the relatives went to their respective hotel rooms to get ready and reach the banquet hall early in the morning. Close relatives who stayed in their home have slept. Sisters-in-law were in their rooms arranging clothes and jewels for the wedding. Her aunts were with Chetan in his room arranging his clothes. Although they appointed the wedding planner, but attending the guests was family duty. Hence, all the gents were out attending guests from bride's side in the hotel and final check on the arrangements along with wedding planners in the banquet hall. Charan drove his bullet to the banquet hall after dropping Bree for the same work. Would you like to have dinner? Madhu asked gracefully, coming close to Bree. But Bree looked on the other side and nodded with no. She thought they must have eaten food outside. Since Bree was upset with Madhu, she didn't feel like eating her dinner either, but ate a little food in the force of her family. Cooks and waiters were cleaning the dishes after serving everyone in the house. Madhu called one of the waiters and asked him to get 2 glasses of almond milk for both of them and a bowl of mixed fruits in case Bree feels hungry in the night. Taking the chance of a busy family, Madhu held Bree's hand and walked her to the bedroom and closed the door. She came close to her. Still angry at me? She asked. Bree's heart melted with her act, but she wanted to distress Madhu a little more, so she ignored her love. Can I see all your dresses? Madhu asked again, smiling. Bree nodded with yes and walked to the wardrobe, saying, You can. I will get fresh, and she went inside the bathroom carrying her night pajama and t-shirt. Madhu looked at her angrily by squeezing her eyes. She knew Bree was doing all that purposely. She sat on the bed waiting for her and took out the clothes from the bags and felt happy seeing her 2 dresses in beautiful colors. Peacock feather dark green kurta with yellow dhoti and a black and golden kurta with off-white dhoti. She imagined that Bree would look tremendous in those dresses. Can you try these for me? She uttered from outside so that Bree could hear her in the bathroom. I tried in the showroom. Now I'm tired. I want to sleep, she said. Madhu got irritated hearing that. Are you going to sleep in the bathroom itself? She giggled saying that, as Bree was not coming out of the bathroom for 15 minutes. Bree also smirked hearing that. Meanwhile, the waiter got the milk and fruits and Madhu asked him to keep them on the table and go. Bree opened the door by changing her clothes and stared at her. Madhu walked close to her slowly and gracefully, biting her lips in a sexy way. She asked softly, What would you like to have before sleeping? I mean, milk or fruits? She smirked. Bree's heartbeats increased with her sexy attitude. She felt like grabbing her and loving her. But she wanted to show some more anger, so she moved aside. Hanging her clothes on a hanger, she placed them in the wardrobe. Madhu sighed with that attitude of Bree. So you don't want to eat? You don't want to try these new clothes? You don't want to talk to me? What do you want to do? Punish me with your silence? Saying, she walked close to her again and stood before her, touching her chest to Bree, placing her hands around her neck, smiling in a naughty way. Bree ignored her, taking off her hands and walked to the bed after keeping her clothes and took a few sips of water from the filtered water bottle kept aside on the table. Sorry, Madhu whispered, hugging her from back. Bree didn't reply for that as well and took a few more sips of water. I said I'm sorry, Madhu said softly once again. Bree's heart melted, but she was enjoying her acts. She pushed her hands and turned around with no expression and stared at her with a wave of fake anger. Madhu also stared at her with a pout. smiling and winking at her. I am ready for punishment. She bit her lower lip, saying that. Even though she was feeling shy, behaving bold before her, yet she did all that as she wanted to chill the mood of her love. Ignoring her seducing acts, Bree laid on the bed, closing her eyes. Madhu gazed at her and thought, what else I have to do now to convince her? She thought of something. Smiling, she took her night pajama dress and walked inside the bathroom to change. Bree saw her going with half-open eyes. She thought of asking whether she had her dinner or not, but her ego came before her. Within a couple of minutes, Madhu came out of the bathroom. She had taken off her drape and was only in her lehenga and blouse. Her open waist, bare neck and curves were breathtaking for Bree in that attire. Could you please untie the knot of this blouse? I think it's stuck with a double knot, saying she turned her back before Bree. Bree blushed to see that naughty act of Madhu. She knew that she purposely put a double knot. She got tempted looking at her bare back. Scratching her eyebrows, clearing her throat in temptation, she got up from the bed and took a long breath, deciding not to fall for her seducing plan, and started untying the knots. Madhu blushed with her touch. Within a few seconds, Bree opened the knots and took a step back. Madhu opened the blouse, turning towards Bree, staring at her, biting her lower lip. Bree gazed at her half-undressed, beautiful wife. Her heartbeats increased. Madhu came close and embraced her arms around Bree's neck. Her touch and scent was hypnotizing to Bree. Bree looked at the other side. You don't want to change? She asked, gulping her saliva in the desire for her. Madhu blushed with her startled words, nodding with no. She held her chin and turned her face towards her and kissed her. Mesmerized in her kiss, Bree moved her hands around her bare upper body. Madhu pushed her on the bed and laid on top of her. After kissing for a while, Madhu playfully moved her face away from Bree. Bree firmly pulled her back against her body and brushed her lips with her. Madhu exhaled a deep, stunned breath in response to the wave of heat she felt flushing through her. Bree smiled, then she kissed her and softly swept her tongue in between her lips, pressing her warm, soft lips passionately, tickling her tongue with her. Bree sucked her lips with the warmth of her lips, like she was tasting a nectar from a delicate petal. Moving her hands and caressing her back and front body, Bree rolled over and went on top of her. She kissed her neck and gave her hickeys all around her neck and chest. Madhu felt fluttering inside. Madhu held her t-shirt possessively and kissed her lips, biting them. Bree grabbed her strongly and pressed her upper body. Their love was wild like never before. Madhu's body also craved her. She took off her t-shirt in between the wave of kiss and kissed her again, pressing her hands against her body. Shallow moan escaped from her breath. The wave of lust between them was heavier than ever before, and they both churned within the love for each other. Rest of the night, there was no space for any talk or punishment or guilt or apology or ego. If anything lasted in the night, that was love.